going to be showing us his harrow, which is very, very cool, and teaching us all about it, so it's super exciting.
Hi, how are you, Kate?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, like Kate said, this is called a heavy harrow that will be running through the field. This particular field is going to be spring wheat. And as far as a little history about my own operation, family, we're going on 104 years now.
That's incredible.
I'm fourth generation.
Oh, I'm fourth generation as well.
And I happen to be living on the place that actually my great-great-grandfather homesteaded.
That's amazing.
And in fact, across the road for where we live now is the trees that still exist today. Kind of unique.
It's super interesting and it's amazing, and I believe every farmer's story should be told.
Yeah.
And this is a totally different kind of part of the operation. This is so interesting and a completely new experience for me as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I often think regarding the homestead, if those trees, wouldn't it be interesting if those trees could actually talk?
Oh,
and
yes.
And tell you what they've seen, you know, the changes from when, you know, they started out and they were using horses and
definitely
and pulling behind the horse, and now today we're using, you know, 600 horsepower tractors.
It's amazing. I can't believe that my great-grandfather used to homestead with horses and do all of this land, because today it feels like such a luxury to have a cab.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the luxury of having GPS technology.
For sure.
That, you know, now you can, you know, obviously drive straight. You can drive in the dust. You don't have to necessarily see where you're at.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of conveniences that, you know, I'm sure they would have loved to have had.
Oh, definitely. I can't even imagine if the people who homesteaded this land are my family and yours got to see where farming has come. So the straw choppers in the back of the combine that I explained in previous episodes on Kate's Egg is basically all the little chopped up pieces of straw is what the harrow spreads out. So that's exactly a kind of a really simple way of explaining what we're doing.
Right.
The soil always does better when you have your pulse crop and then you grow wheat the following year.
Right, correct. Yep, you're exactly right. It's a good way to rotate because your pulse crops require different nutrients than your cereal grain crops. This whole unit is called a heavy harrow, and these are spring-loaded tine teeth. It's steel, and the idea is, the concept is they're going down the field, why they have the ability then to spring back and forth, maintain pressure.
That's very interesting.
And this particular harrow I had made with carbide teeth. You notice there's a little piece of carbide teeth right here.
Definitely.
Pressure is set, it's all hydraulically.
Okay.
So I set that with the gap. There's a gauge right there.
Yep.
The numbers. So that's how I can tell where my down pressure is at.
Interesting.
There's your hydraulic cylinders. There, each one is on its own hydraulics.
So it folds all up so that it can become portable and you can move it to different fields.
Right. Okay, so we're going to get started. Kind of hang on because between shifting and holes,
Yes.
and holes going 13 mile an hour, sometimes it kind of can be a wake up. Okay, as you can see, we're pulling up to where my previous line was.
Oh yeah.
So I will gauge the GPS. That's the beep you hear there. And then we'll bring her up to speed.
This is much faster than driving a combine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can actually cover a lot of acres doing it. Right now we're doing about 13 mile an hour.
Wow. That's very, very fast.
And if you as you kind of watch, you'll see some heavier straw areas. And then when those teeth hit that, you'll see it kind of spreads and drags.
That's very cool.
And kind of where the thicker areas are here, you can see what I'm talking about, the width behind the combine. You can see the straw line.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like right.
Yeah. And then after the harrow goes through it, you see how it spreads it. I can't guarantee that we won't hit a hole once in a while, so you gotta, I kind of try to watch for that at the same time.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'll try not to make you hit your head on the roof. Now last year when we done that, this time we weren't able to get a lot of this completed because at the end of September last year we had 2.5 feet of snow.
Oh, I know. That was actually really sad because I know we had just finished, I mean 2 days before all of the snow, we had just finished seeding, but it was really sad because I heard some people weren't even done harvesting.
Right.
And that is, oh, I can't believe, that's Montana weather though, it can change in a second.
Exactly. And then, and again, that's, you know, we haven't touched on that yet, but that's one thing that in Montana, it seems like with that weather can change so fast.
Yes.
That, you know, time is always of the essence. So, you know, you could maybe cut your own crop all yourself. Because I have my own machine, plus I have custom cutters. And, you know, if you have 2 months to cut, why, you could probably do it yourself.
Right.
But the problem is case in point last year, you know, you want to try to do it yourself and then you get caught with 2.5 feet of snow. So, you know, what's that worth for you to get it done, you know, on time?
Exactly. It's very important to know when to, like, just combine your wheat yourself or allocate it to someone else, such as custom cutters, which I actually talked about in a different video, because it's more important to pay maybe a little bit more of a premium for cutting and get your crop that you've spent basically 11 months, you know, working in your fields and preparing for that crop. You want to at least have something.
Right. Like, especially what time you get going. Now this year we started a little bit later because we had, you know, had more of an abundance of moisture, so the crops weren't stressed, so they didn't ripen quite as fast. And we ended up by getting started a little bit later. Well, it seems like once you get past that, about the end of September, or not the end of August, you know, 1st of September time frame, you know, your weather can start, you know, changing on you, and then you start running into weather events. Dewy mornings, you can't get started till maybe mid-morning, so you lose your days.
There's a ton of variables in farming, and one of the biggest ones is weather.
Correct.
Now we're on a corner. Oh yeah!
That's the engagement of
the GPS, right?
Yes, right.
And that is amazing because no hands on the steering wheel.
No, you can actually get kind of spoiled with that technology because now you can grab your phone and they say you can't text and drive, but they don't say you can't text and drive tractor.
And I think, oh my, and I think they even make combines like that as well.
Yeah, they do. Yep, my combine's got the GPS.
That is amazing.
And if you ever switch and go to a tractor that does not have GPS, you really find out how nice it is to have it, because you grab your phone to look at it or whatnot, and pretty soon you're off the mark because you're not paying attention.
I think that would be a hard transition.
It would be. It is. Not only that, but you got to gauge the distance.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like now, you know, where the line you can see out there, you know, if you're driving that manually, you know, you got to be able to tell that distance. The GPS actually kind of spoils you. You don't necessarily learn how to gauge.
And all the super straight lines you see in fields are all because of this amazing GPS technology.
Right. Well, see, in case that field up there, I just came from there.
Let's see, I'll zoom in.
Okay, now that's a whole separate field up there, but you can tell by eyesight I'm on the same line as if I was able to keep going straight.
Yeah, that's just absolutely amazing.
Now that beep there, that's what I call my wake-up beep. That beep there reminds me that I'm at the end of my field because it knows where my turnaround point is. So that beep was telling me that it's time to turn.
Interesting.
Normally, if you're in high crop residue and particular winter wheat, but since it's a spring wheat, it wasn't quite as much of an issue. But there are some fields that, and if you have a combine that didn't spread it very good, spread your residue in your straw, those harrows would be totally full of straw.
Oh, okay.
And in time we'll probably get to a field, because the next field that we're going to go to is one that I swathed, and it was picked up with pickup headers, so that could have more straw residue right behind the combine, so we'll probably see some action later.
That's really, really cool.
As we're going, see if I want to put more tine angle back there, or then I can hydraulically change those harrow teeth so they'll actually come more forward, so it makes it more severe.
Oh!
So I can change that angle.
Interesting. The corners are kind of fun.
Yeah, see? This is just like a fair ride at the fair.
Oh, exactly. Even better, I would say.
Should be charging you so many coupons for this.
Yes.
You make it more exciting. Otherwise, you know, it can be maybe get a little dull after a while, but so you turn the corners faster, and then you get that wee moment.
Yes, I completely agree. So we've just been talking about how it's kind of crazy how the price of wheat now is lower than it was a long, long time ago.
Right, like Kate just said, my dad tells me the story that he got more than this for the price of wheat. What we're getting now, he got more than that in 1974.
Yeah, and there's more expensive machinery, land prices are going up, so it makes it very hard for farmers to stay in business.
Exactly, and we're talking about, you know, the technology and stuff, all the modern equipment has nowadays. You know, it's all nice and makes it a lot more convenient so that you can run the long hours that we run.
Definitely.
You know, and that it just makes it more or less stressful from that end of, but at the same time it also costs quite a bit of money.
For sure, and with all the variables in farming, you never know if you can spend the money to upgrade your equipment, because will next year be as good as the year you just had?
Right.
And you have to save for the bad years to make it through.
Right.
And that's very important.
And there's no guarantee that we're even going to have a crop. I mean, you could have a total drought out or something. The worst case scenario is, you know, you're stuck with crop insurance, and unfortunately crop insurance doesn't pay the bills.
Right, and you spend your whole year working for your crop, so you want to make sure you can do everything you can to have that crop.
Right, and in this industry, we're at the point of least resistance, so in order for us to pass on, we have nobody to pass on our costs. So if we end up by having to, you know, the price of whatever you're buying, whether it be seed wheat or you know, fertilizer or whatever, you know, that price goes up. Well, we can't automatically adjust that like most everybody else in the industry can, and they can pass it on to the consumer.
Right.
We have no ability to do that.
Exactly.
So the price of fertilizer goes up $100 a ton. We're still stuck with the price of wheat, you know, at that time. We don't have the ability to go into the elevators. We want to, you know, sell our commodity. We can't go in and say, hey, you know, I know the price of wheat is $5 a bushel, for example, but because I just paid, you know, an extra $100 a ton for fertilizer, now I've got to have, you know, $5.20 for my wheat, you know. And the elevator says, oh, absolutely, you know, we can't do that. We're stuck at whatever price. Some of the consumers that I talk to in the cities and stuff, I mentioned that to them, and I kind of relate it so they can maybe make the relation to what I'm saying. It'd be no difference if you walk in and you want to buy a set of tires.
Exactly.
Okay? And they may want, you know, $225 a piece for the tires. Well, to see the way we operate is they may want $2.25 for the price of tires, but I'll offer you $150, and they got to take it. So
for sure.
Instead of $2.25, you get your tires for $150. I haven't done it for the last couple of years, and that is you get a soil test.
Yes.
You know, they come out with a probe, and they'll go down 2 to 3 feet in your soil and get a composite sample of your soil, send it into the lab, and then, you know, you mark on there what your crop intention is, what your secondary crop intention in case your first one you change your mind. So, you know, you put a couple different crops in there, and then it gives you not an exact science, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what for that crop and what yield goal is that you'd like, what your fertilizer recommendation.
Yeah, how to fertilize and maybe what your soil's deficient in. There's different things that go into fertilizer, and if your soil doesn't need that particular part of the fertilizer, you don't want to spend the money to put it in the ground.
Right.
You would rather spend the money to put the part that it doesn't need. So that's why soil tests and paying attention to your ground is very important. For example, dandelions show that there's which is a weed, show that there's a deficiency in calcium in your soil, so therefore your soil might need some more calcium.
And another example, we just turned around at some CRP here.
Yep.
You know, your requirements for that CRP are going to be different than what's out here that's been raising crops for several years. So again, you don't want to fertilize this field the same as if you took that CRP field out and do it the same. It's going to be a whole different nutrient level out there than it is here.
For sure, and it's a complete science, and you try and control it as much as you can and learn as much as you can to make sure you make an educated decision on how to fertilize and what to do next with your crops and your ground.
You know, you try to utilize what tools that are available that you have out there to make your decisions. It's not like there isn't enough decisions to do with ag and life in general, so if you can ease the guesswork and take that out of it, why not?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just so incredibly important that people know where their food comes from and the very hard work that farmers put into growing the food. And we, especially the wheat we grow here in the Golden Triangle area of Montana, is really made for breads, and I guess it's great for pizza as well, crust.
Right, well, and it depends whether it's a hard winter.
Oh yes, exactly. Hard
red winter versus a spring wheat.
Yes,
you know, they're used for different doughs.
And durum is used more for pasta, which is also grown here, but not as frequently.
Well, I'm impressed. You're really up on this.
Oh, thank you.
That's cool. My wife and I have been on trips and whatnot when they find out, you know, if you're back east and whatnot. I have actually had people, when they find out what our occupation is,
yep.
I have actually had people say that they don't know why we need farmers or ag producers because they get their food from the store.
To me, that is very, very sad, and this is where it all starts here with our wonderful farmers. And I just can't even believe that, and I really want to make a big difference and change that thought process, because farmers and farming is so important, and also it's very important for people, if they can, to buy farm and ranch products locally and support your local farmers and also U.S. farmers, and support really your neighbor in what they do.
Exactly. In your comment when we were talking, it's nice that, you know, somebody like yourself has, you know, got so much interest in this, and you know that you want to, you know, educate the public, and because anymore there's not too many of us that are doing this, and you know, as time goes on, it's going to probably get worse.
Yes.
And so it's nice that you're willing to come out here and try to help educate the public as to maybe what this is all about.
Well, thank you, because I just love it. I have so much fun, and it's just incredible. It truly is. And
right now I'm making the edge pass next to power lines, so it's kind of interesting to be able to talk and watch.
Technical.
This is one place that GPS technology does not let you know. It doesn't tell you where the power poles are.
No, not at all.
So there are times you have to make a pass by yourself and actually be able to judge the distance, not have to call the power company to replace a power pole.
And we seed very close to the power lines, and so it's hard with the seeders, and then if you seed that close, you also have to run the harrow that close and everything else, so that is quite challenging as well. That is crazy how fast that just went.
It is.
I am amazed.
It does. That helps keep you awake.
Yes, definitely.
Because by the time you think about getting tired, you're done and you move on to the next field.
Yes, exactly. Farmers' work is so important, and I'm so glad that I get to share this process as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.